Wide receivers, you're higher on DeAndre Hopkins going against the Bears. Wide receiver 15, 5 above the experts. Also OBJ, if he plays, going against a very juicy Jacksonville matchup. Wide receiver 27, 5 above the experts. You also like Hunter Renfro. God, you got like a million people here. Hunter Renfro going against the Washington football team. And also all the Cowboys receivers tonight, specifically CeeDee Lamb, you got him at 7, 6 above the experts. Amari, wide receiver 22.
Yep. And like you said, we got to go quick here. But the Bears, 6th most points allowed. Hopkins is fully healthy. They've really taken their time with him. I imagine he's right back to full go and should be in everybody's top 10 receivers. The fact that he's outside the top 12 in most rankings blows my mind. He's going to be a stud this week and dominate as he always does. And then, as you mentioned, we got, I just lost my fucking place. Odell Beckham playing 98% of the snaps last week, 10 targets, 26% target share in one of the most explosive attacks. That deep bomb touchdown was so beautiful to see him still gaining the separation that he always does. I think he can kill it yet again against a big play, surrendering 11th most points allowed to wide receivers, Jaguars defense. Then you got Hunter Renfro, 4th most points allowed to 2 wide receivers, that Washington football team. The guy has 14 or more half PPR points in 3 of his last 4 weeks, including a week as the wide receiver 9 last week. That nice blow up. He's an absolute. Renfro's like a sneaky stud. I really like Renfro as a player. Consistent, steady volume, and we keep saying he's the classic people that we like to like say low ceiling, high floor. I mean, wide receiver 7 last week, wide receiver 14, wide receiver 10 in his last 3 finishes. That's a pretty damn high ceiling, if you ask me, and a great matchup for the guy to boot. Obviously all into it. And then the 4th most points to wide receivers, the Saints. So I love both CeeDee Lamb and Cooper. Yes, very inconsistent, tough to trust. I get it, but I think he is in a ripe spot to rebound. And just as soon as you bench the guy, you're going to get that 22. 2 weeks ago, he had 22 points as the wide receiver 4. I think a game like that is very much in play against a very suspect defense here of the New Orleans Saints.
The Seahawks receivers, Lockett and Metcalf. We don't really have to talk about these guys too much. We talked about how abysmal the Seahawks are, but you do have Lockett 7 spots below the experts, Metcalf 10 spots below. They're still getting a lot of respect based on their names and their just natural talent, which they have. Jamar Chase, also you're lower than. You got him going against the Chargers is your 12. The experts actually like him at 5. Mike Williams going against the Bengals, wide receiver 25. The experts have him at 17. 25 seems a lot more sensible to me. Also, Jerry Jeudy at the Chiefs, wide receiver 29 for you. The experts actually like him all the way up at 20.
No, so you actually have that reversed. I have him at 38. I wrote that wrong.
So right. Well, either way, the experts like him 9 spots more than you do. Neither of you like him that much, though.
Right, exactly. Let's start with the Seahawks really quick. As you said, we already hit upon how abysmal this passing game has looked. Granted, Lockett, I'm less concerned about, who's somehow ranked below DK Metcalf. He's at least had 14 and 11 in his last 2. So if one of them is going to get it done, it's clearly been Lockett. DK Metcalf, since Geno Smith got benched, he's had 4, 5, and 2 fantasy points. The wide receiver,
bring back Geno.
Yeah, exactly. We want Geno back. He's the wide receiver 54, 55, and 90 since Russ returned. I don't know what happened between those two, but he is not even looking his way. It makes no sense to me why you wouldn't want to get one of the best young talents involved in the NFL. Pathetic. And then Jamar Chase, we talked about this on the Monday show. Yes, he started the year with over 20 fantasy points per game across his first 5, but across the last 8, the guy has averaged only 10 fantasy points per game. He really hasn't been all that special. We already talk about all the time how T. Higgins has been averaging more expected fantasy points per game. We're seeing that kind of come to fruition where Jamar Chase, his talent is still through the roof. He can always blow this out of the door at any point by getting deep for an 80-yard score. Always in play with him, and that's why he's still in my top 12. But lately, wide receiver 27, 48, 27, 53, he hasn't even been close to that top 12 ranking that I have him for. That just kind of reflects the upside. In fact, he's number 5 is what blows my mind there. Mike Williams, we talk about him every week. Way too boomer bust. Has not seen more than 6 targets in 5 straight weeks. It's just bad. It's too inconsistent for me. I don't want him in there. And Jerry Jeudy, like wide receiver 29, tells you he should be in play in 3 receiver leagues or 2 receivers and flexes. The guy's been the wide receiver 57, 22, 39, and 66. Teddy Bridgewater just isn't good. He can't sustain multiple receivers. Hell, he can't even sustain 1 right now. And yeah, Kansas City, typically you think shootout game, you got to chase points, but Kansas City's offense really hasn't been that this year. So not all that high on Jerry Jeudy at all.
Hail Marys, Kendrick Bourne, 39% owned going against Buffalo. T.Y. Hilton, only 29% owned going against Houston. And we talked about Deshaun Jackson, 12% owned going against the Washington football team.
Kendrick Bourne, the wide receiver 12 since week 3. How crazy is that? A legit number 1 receiver. The public's clearly coming up to him with 39%. I know a lot of you guys have asset start questions on him in the past, and I've kind of chuckled and been like, no, he's a lot better than I was realizing. As a Patriots fan, you see it every week. The guy's making these great plays, and for some reason, I did not put 2 and 2 together. Kind of like Mac Jones. Like, you don't think of him as a good fantasy player. Well, Kendrick Bourne has been. He's been, again, a top 12 wide receiver since week 3. That's crazy. Buffalo is a tough matchup, but without Tre'Davious White, I have no doubt he could go off again. T.Y. Hilton just always kills Houston. He loves it. Like, he revels in the fact that he kills this team each and every year. He laughs about it in pressers. He's going to go crazy again, no matter how bad he is. He caught that goal line touchdown last week. He's going to score again, go deep. And then if you miss out on him, though, D-Jax is out there in all but 12% of leagues, facing a former Washington football team. Got deep for 100 yards and a score last week on 3 catches. You know he likes to spite his old teams. I imagine they're going to dial him up deep with regularity, and he's going to score against the team, giving up the 4th most points to wide receivers. Of course, I prefer Renfro, but I do love Deshaun Jackson as well as a flyer.
Before we fly into tight end, Stephen Drakes has just thrown us a few bucks and wants to know, would you drop either Sony or Boston Scott to pick up Chase Edmonds, half PPR, or should I wait on the injury reports for Henderson and the Eagles running backs? What do you think, Wolf?
I think you got it exactly how you said it the second half there, Steven. Thanks so much for supporting the site, too. He regularly just tosses money our way, and we really appreciate that, Steven.
Thanks,
You're a legend. So thank you so much for that. I would, if you don't think he's going to get scooped, I do think for season-long stretch run pushes, the guy was a very solid running back, but you got to see if Henderson sits this week, you got a top 12 running back potentially in Sony. And then, I do want to see is Scott playing. I guess it comes down to, do you need to use either Sony or Scott, assuming how the injuries shake out? If you don't need to use them regardless of how it shakes out, then yeah, of course, I'd probably rather stash a talent like Chase Edmonds. But most of the time, I'm probably going to hold both of those guys, wait it out, see what happens on the injury report, especially if you're not too worried about it getting scooped by a league mate. And especially if you need one of those 2 running backs in your lineup this week, I'd be waiting that one out in 90% of situations. Thank you, Steven, again. We really appreciate it. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.